So I came about this close to not seeing this movie. Like, this close. I had heard a lot of jacked up things about this movie, and honestly, I didn't want anything to do with it. I am not a fan of horror and gross out, brutal butchery and blood, and yeah, it goes places, but it was not what I expected at all. If you haven't seen the movie, that's all you really need to know, and I'd suggest that if you like horror, specifically A24 horror, go see it before you watch this, because I'm going to go into a few things that might give away the plot just a little bit. Probably nothing you hadn't already seen in the trailer. But if you haven't seen the trailer, don't watch the trailer. Just go in fresh. Okay, let's take a breath. And now, so Bring Her Back is the new A24 film from Danny and Michael, I think, Philippou. After A24 picked up their last film, Talk to Me, at Sundance, and made a huge impression with that film. The film stars Billy Barratt as Andy and Sora Wong as Piper, who are brother and sister living with their father when he suddenly dies in the shower. Devastated and alone, the brother and sister find themselves in the home of Laura, played by the insanely talented Sally Hawkins, who you may remember from Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water and Willie's mom in the newest Wonka prequel. Laura has been a social worker for 20 years, but after the drowning of her daughter, she decides to foster some kids instead, I think. With her already taken in an odd mute boy named Oliver, played by Jonah Wren-Phillips. When Andy and Piper arrive, it's obvious that Laura doesn't want Andy there, but welcomes Piper with open arms, due to the fact that Piper, who's blind, reminds Laura of her own daughter, who was also blind. And that's as far as I can go into the plot without really ruining the film for you. I'll try to be somewhat vague here, but be warned, again, you're gonna want to go in fresh. Honestly, I kind of knew where they were going with this into the second act. Some of it's sort of obvious, but it doesn't really ruin the film. There are a lot of things that they don't explain in this movie, specifically the supernatural aspect of what's happening, or how it happens, or why, or who's behind it. But I like that they left all of that out, because the story isn't really about the monster, it's about the grief that can make you into a monster. It's an emotional story that, if you started dropping all this exposition to explain everything, it would ruin the theme of the film. It does a great job giving you breadcrumbs to help you figure out, certain things without blatantly telling you an exposition dump that horror movies always seem to do now these days. There are a lot of unanswered questions in the movie, but after seeing the last few frames of the film, it really doesn't matter at that point. Again, I was really reluctant to see this film. I'm not a fan of being scared for fun. That's not my thing. And when the production company's logo came on, I was like, nope, I'm done, I'm out. I didn't realize it was a logo, but that was jacked up. But of course I stayed and I gave it a chance, and it wasn't as scary as I heard it was going to be. It was insanely creepy and jacked up, but it didn't really scare me. The first and second act actually don't have a lot of real modern day horror elements to them. It's mostly psychological. There are scenes that freaked me out a little, but to be fair, they were weird rituals filmed on VHS. Any horror movie that uses VHS to show you what's going on, big picture style, that's some creepy stuff. That's creepy storytelling, and it weirds me out. This is a very dark movie. It's not a fun horror movie like Final Destination is. This film sets you up to feel compassion for these characters in a real way, all the way to the last and final frame of the film, which is probably one of the most beautiful and emotional scenes that I've ever seen in a film. It was absolutely haunting and beautiful, but also very disturbing. The last minute of this film will probably end up being one of those iconic images. The film has a lot of different types of horror elements that feel familiar, and I wonder if the directors pulled from movies like Misery, Pet Sematary, Hereditary. Those three films sort of sum up this film in a way, but this film has more depth to it. It's a film that I don't think most people will want to watch again. I don't. It doesn't leave you feeling great after you leave the theater, but it is a pretty fantastic film. The acting alone in this film is award-winning. There isn't one bad performance. Billy Barratt is fantastic as Andy. Sora Wong is incredible, but Sally Hawkins, I mean, wow. Her performance is an Oscar-winning performance. If she doesn't get a nomination for this role, I'll lose what little faith that I have left for the Academy. It's rare that you have times that you feel bad for the villain. You understand what she does and you have empathy for her, especially at the end of this film. And she does do some really jacked up stuff. But Hawkins' performance is the reason that you feel this way about her. She plays the role with perfection. And Jonah Wren Phillips, another fantastic performance, and maybe the best performance ever given from a child actor. There are scenes from him that just, I mean, really. The two brothers who directed the film also wrote the film, and it is a fantastic story. I love when a film drops exposition or everyday items in a film that come back around to either explain more of the story or to be a reason why the film goes in the direction it goes. There is one specific time that they do this that I don't think really worked very well. There's a certain point in the film where Laura gives Andy some body spray, and the way it's done seems weird and confusing, but then the body spray comes back around in a very important scene. It's like they couldn't think of a really clever way to get the body spray not only to Andy, but to deliver it in a way that the audience would remember it when it came back around later. The way they use abuse, showers, loss of a family member, all of it, and the way it's all tied together was really brilliant. They do use the typical gaslight horror method where there's one person trying to convince someone else that they aren't crazy and the other person convincing them that they are. And it's sort of a tired method for horror. Films like The Invisible Man that did it very well, Rosemary's Baby, Midsommar, The Shining. There's so many, but in this film, it's actually very necessary for the film to work, and the way that it's done is pretty perfect. The film doesn't really take off until the midpoint of the film, maybe even just a little later after that, but I didn't mind because the characters were just so intriguing to me. There are a few scenes that I just wasn't prepared for when the film does ratchet up to a certain point. It's not a film where you want to be eating chicken wings in the middle of this thing. It gets to a certain point where it just goes hard and it reaches a point of no return. The directors have a huge future ahead of them, and it may not be this year or next year, but eventually they will walk away with an Oscar or two. I went to see this at the Alamo Drafthouse, one of my all-time favorite places to see a film, mainly because they are very clear about not talking in the theater. And I absolutely love that. And thank you, Alamo. Thank you. You're awesome. And all you other theaters, y'all need to get on board with this. The theater was so quiet and it was so great. And Alamo just tells people to shut up. It's fantastic. And I don't even know why this is a thing. I mean, how are we living in this world where we're still talking in theaters? Sorry. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Before the film, they were showing footage of the brothers when they were younger, making tons of short films, and you could see their passion for filmmaking and what got them to where they are now. It kind of made me appreciate the film more after seeing that. Bring Her Back is the best horror/psychological film of the year so far. With an award-winning performance from Sally Hawkins and the rest of the cast, it is a phenomenal film. It has some nice cinematography with a few clever transitions that I enjoyed. I didn't even talk about the sound design. And man, there's one scene with a knife. You'll know it before you see it because of the sound design. It's haunting. It's jacked up. The writing is full of depth and meaning. The story altogether is emotional and painful. It's just all around a fantastic film. It does have a few small flaws like the body spray bottle handoff, and the film is a tad long in the second act, but I get what it was trying to do. I'm giving Bring Her Back 4.5 stars out of 5 for all these reasons. I love this film, but I never want to see this film again. It is rated a hard R for violent scenes, blood and gore, intense emotional and psychological horror, some pretty graphic nudity, and some strong language, underage drinking, child abuse, and pretty much anything that you can think of. No sex, though. So I'm really interested to hear what you thought of Bring Her Back. What about that ending? Was it what you expected? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe to the channel if you want to hear my opinion on all the latest films. And thank you so much to those of you who have. It really helps grow the channel. I couldn't do this without you, so thank you. And as always, don't wait till it streams. Let's go to the theater and let's see it together.
I want to show you something else. This way.
We stuffed her.
I know I'm a weirdo.